who will be responsible for the day-to-day management of that project, or the contract project, or the tender project, or the procurement project. And then the inspection and acceptance committee, and this responsibility is to verify they deal with milestones, and they review every payment certificate. That is the role of the inspection and acceptance committee. And so in a nutshell, you find that is how it revolves, how the public procurement segregation responsibility revolves around corporate decision making, involving almost everybody, many people, and the idea is to have through transparency and to ensure that every decision is made is actually above board. Okay. Now the third point is on professionalization of procurement function. This one is important because it is addressing very many governance issues. One of the biggest problems was corruption, and it was discovered that most of the procurement professionals that were actually deciding over it were actually non-professionals. They were not qualified, and very many things were going wrong, and therefore the issue of corruption was coming in. Nobody was fearing that there will be a recourse against their action because there was no body to oversight their work, and then there was a way where they could get out of it. But now there's a need. It was found that every profession that is professionalized, has a professional body to oversight the professionals, everything works well, and if anybody makes an error, they will be required to account by the body. So we will want to encourage all board members to ensure that all the procurement function of the respective state corporations are actually professionalized. And it's a legal requirement that the staff of every procurement unit must be professionals who are actually licensed, and they are registered by the institute, the professional body known as the Kenya Institute of Suppliers Management. We want you to work with this body so that the errand officer can actually be reported to this body, and this body will take action against the officer. Secondly, ensure that none of the staff in the procurement function or the procurement unit are non-professionals. This one is we want to call upon the board to actually the boards to enforce this requirement because it's an issue of law, and then to monitor the staffing levels in the procurement unit. Sometimes there's too much work and people are overworked, and and therefore they end up not getting the best value for money. And finally, we want to encourage that boards to ensure that all procurement professionals or procurement functions are actually multi-skilled. Ensure that support these professionals to do a little bit course on ICT, a little course on data management, because they will be required to provide some disaggregated data to the authority, that is PPIA, and to the National Treasury, sometimes almost every quarter. And they will be required to provide this data. So they need to have this information, they need to understand law, because there are very many issues of law when it comes to procurement. One of the law they must understand is the law of contracts. It resonates well with public procurement, and they need to understand that it revolves around that law. Then planning and budgeting is important because they will be preparing the procurement plans and disposal plans and asset disposal plans. Project implementation, when they will be preparing reports and advising the board on how projects are being implemented, or the stages, or the milestones. They need to have an understanding of project implementation, and they need to also, because they're dealing with procurement of works, they need to have a little understanding on the build, information about the build and national environment. So that is what we will advise to ensure that all procurement functions are served with these capabilities so that they can be able to give you better reports and better monitoring of what happens in the procurement function. The fourth talking point is digitalization of the procurement function. The law, as it is right now, it allows electronic procurement. It allows that public entities can actually go digital in all their own processes, and it makes explanation of almost every step and how it can be done. If it's a mission of bids, they can be done online. If it is a tender box where they submit their bids, there should be an electronic tender box, and it provides, and then it allows that there can be electronic signatures. All those things are provided in law. Therefore, we want to encourage you in any state corporation you're presiding over, ensure that the procurement system of that respective state corporation is actually digitalized. And it's very easy. And this one will save you from the traditional law procurement where everything is manual, and we'll be using complicated processes. Bid documents, somebody must travel, must queue, must come and submit a physical document. Then many documents are needed for printing and doing the evaluation, and a lot of money spent by the parties in travel. But when it comes to the procurement, only one computer is required by every party, wherever they are, and then they submit a bid online, and then all processes will be digitalized seamlessly, and everything will be very easy and will be cheap for the procurement unity, and even the suppliers, and business will become good. Really, business will become easy in Kenya. So that is what we want to encourage. When you in a state corporation where the procurement function is manual, enable automation so that it can be electronic. Now, the fifth talking point is on transparency. When you look at the Mwongozo Code of Governance itself, it makes provision under parameter 2.0, which touches on procurement, on disclosure and transparency. It provides that the board, first of all, must disclose the policy of the organization of procurement. The moment you have a procurement function, then you need to have a procurement procedure manual, which will serve as a policy. And try to share that policy, have sessions and share with the stakeholders, including suppliers. They need to understand that policy that governs you. Then you need to disclose the top 10 contracts of the organization value-wise. Every time whenever you're meeting, you need to have information about the top 10 contracts. Until the end of the year, you need to display that in this year we did business with several corporations, with several stakeholders, several suppliers, and these are the top 10 of the ones that we did business with. It should be made open. And the law, right now there's a push, and the Treasury has given instructions, the authority has given instructions on the same. The Attorney General chambers have actually issued, have revised their regulations on a beneficial ownership information, and the law requires that in every tender, every contract that has been awarded, the beneficial owners must be revealed, must be posted either on the website or must be submitted to the PPRA so that it can be posted in the PPA, Public Procurement Information Portal. So it's important. Transparency is an important requirement, and open contracting is the way that public entities have gone. Even World Bank and IMF have said not to do business with the government of Kenya unless there's information that is being shared about beneficial ownership. Now the last talking point, the second last talking point is control disposal to employees. This is important. Look at the law. It prohibits disposal to employees or member of a board or a committee of a public entity. Except now there are some exceptions that are allowed when it can happen. Is that the time and cost required is to dispose that particular item is disproportionate to the value of the asset. The second condition is that the employee must be, or the board member must be in possession of the item to be disposed and may be given the first priority for the same item. And the third condition is that the disposal must take into consideration the net book value of the asset or the minimum acceptable price set by a technical expert. So minimum acceptable price is what is commonly known as reserve price. So it must be set on the reserve price, and then when applicable at the time of disposal, it must be based on a government policy. So we want to encourage you that it's important to have a policy for the organization on disposal of employees. And items that you can prioritize, which is a sticky issue, ICT equipment, or iPads, computers, laptops. These have got a personal attachment, but it's important when you're disposing them to board members, there must be a governing policy that has been approved by the board. It's important when you look at ICT equipment, the life of most ICT equipment is about 3 years. After 3 years, most of them are zero value in the book, and it's because most of them are not even selling in the market because they've been out. They've been overtaking the technology most of the time. So there's no need of requiring this equipment back in the public entity. However, it should be done procedurally. Owing to all these principles, exceptions that are need to be observed so that it can be sold to the officer or the board member that is actually in possession. Now, as I conclude, I want to talk about the role of the board. And it's important we talk about it. Looking at the Code of Governance, principle number 2, it provides that the board should provide strategic direction to the organization, exercise control, and remain accountable to the shareholders. When you look at it, you'll find that there's one critical word there that you must never forget. It's the word strategic. The board must provide strategic direction. It simply means the board should not provide tactical direction, or the board should not provide operational direction, but their role should be at a tactical level, at strategic level when they are providing direction. But then they must also know that they must remain accountable. In every decision they make, they remain accountable to the shareholders. So in the governance parameter 1.2, on the role of functions of the board, and clauses 1, G, and H, it provides that the board should approve annual budget of the organization, and then monitor the organization's performance and ensure sustainability. Now this is critical because the moment you have the budget approved, then you know there are some plans on how to implement that budget must come in place, and one of them is the procurement plan. Most budgets are actually implemented in procurement, and therefore procurement must have a plan to implement the budget. Now, in the governance from the 3.5 on procurement processes, it provides that the board should establish a procurement policy. So the first issue, then, they should establish a procurement function that is well managed, and then they should approve the annual procurement plan aligned with the budget, which had been approved earlier, and then they should periodically review the implementation of the procurement plan, then review quarterly reports on the actual expenditure, ensure that the committee responsible for risk monitors the procurement process, and ensure that there exists a clearly documented audit trail of all procurement activities. It's important. This is important because most of the time whenever we visit public entities, we find that the procurement records are kept in the worst manner for records. Sometimes you don't, it becomes difficult to get them, give proof of the procurements because the procurement records were not kept properly. And this responsibility is given to the board to ensure that there is audit trail. And the way you can have audit trail is to ensure that those records are in place. Now finally, it's important to talk about this. Procurement law is a law, and it actually has gotten very many public servants in problem. And some of them are specifically actually in jail because of not observing the procurement law. Even some board members have gotten in trouble, and it's because of not playing their role, their strategic role. Usually the SEC, whenever they are looking for an issue in any public entity, Of course, they know that the accounting officer has a primary responsibility of compliance, but then they check whether the board did their role. They played their part. Did they provide oversight? Did they approve that procurement? Did they review the implementation? That's what they check. And if they found that there is no role by the board, and yet they are supposed to play it, usually boards get into trouble. We want to advise you not to ensure that you play strictly your role so that you avoid any challenge that you come. Now, as I said earlier, for a good procurement system to be in place, it must have enforceable sanctions. Because of what has been happening with the standard all over the world, when we have procurement laws, then there must be enforceable sanctions. Now, in Kenya, when it comes to the Kenyan situation, you find that the law provides that if the offender is a national person, you'll be liable to a fine not exceeding an amount not exceeding Kenyan shillings 4 million, or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years, or both. It simply means you can be fined, you can be imprisoned at the same time. And if the offender is a body corporate, the fine not exceeding 10 million. Apart from some other sanctions that can be taken against the body corporate, especially if it's a supplier or a contractor, the law gave powers to PPRA to debar that particular body corporate or that particular supplier for a period not at least 3 years from participating in public procurement. They can be debarred. Now, in conclusion, I want to say that the role of the board is critical to the overall performance of the procurement function. Every time whenever we look at the procurement function, then we look at the board. Their role is very critical to ensure that it works properly. Now, board members are responsible. Their responsibilities revolve around ensuring that everything is done in the law. The moment you know that the law has been observed, know that we will absorb from any blame. I want to conclude by saying that good governance is the mainstay of sustainability of every state corporation, and therefore ensure that you apply it and you never go wrong. With these 2 remarks, I want to say asante sana, and may God bless you so much.
That was a very good presentation, and it shows some risky areas that we need to observe. I hope we shall get soft copies of the presentations so that we can go through them as well.
Yeah, I echo the same about the presentation. It's very, very useful. But I think the challenge that we have as board members is the line between oversight and interference. Because sometimes you find how much and what do you ask for without appearing like you are interfering with the procurement. And I guess you see what I'm saying. So I think that for me is a thin line, and the question is really how do you oversight without interfering. And then second is the issue of procurement competence and management. The skills. How exactly do you get these skills? Because sometimes I find people are generally doing a good job, but they don't necessarily have the right skills. And getting the right skills is not so easy. I know the World Bank does some training, you go 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 1 week. But just getting all those skills across the board so that all the people who are in procurement understand it fully. I think that's an area that we need strengthening in our corporations.
Thank you. Henrock, then you can come and answer.
Yeah, thank you so much, board members, for the questions that have been asked. The first question on the experience of any set operation that is using the e-procurement platform. I want to begin by saying that the government is coming up with an elaborate e-government procurement system. And it has reached a very high level, almost about to the tail end. And the system system is being in place, and by 1st July, some about 20 public entities are going to be piloted into that system. The e-government system is being fronted by the National Treasury. However, the law since 2015 has provided a framework for electronic procurement and has allowed public entities to automate the procurement system and to do everything on an electronic platform. And there are some entities that I can say they have done well. At the moment, I can mention Kenya Authority is one of them. KenGen is one of them. They made some attempts. Kenya Power also is one of them. And I'm mentioning these entities so that I could quickly answer the second question about oversight interfering with operations. When you go to some of these public entities, like KenGen, you'll find that they have an elaborate system on how to oversight, and you can benchmark with them on how to oversight public procurement. And they do it very well. Importantly, every quarter when you go there, you will find that if you're a board member, they will be furnished with all the information they would require. And the board usually, to the committees, they query the issues whether their plan was actually implemented as approved, or when there's any issue, they could raise it up. And they are doing it very well. And I will tell you something about KenGen. It is one of the most accused public entity at the procurement tribunal, the Public Appeals Board. But do you know, it is one of the entities that has never lost any case at the review board. Whenever they come, whenever they're accused, they do their work very well, and they've never lost any case most of the time, especially from the days of Eddie Njoroge, when he was the CEO, until the succeeding head of the CEO. They've come, and they are the ones that they do their. I want to say that I want to commend it. You can go there, you can learn from them. Even if the case goes to the High Court, because sometimes the parties are not satisfied with the decision of the review board, but even the High Court has actually upheld the decision of the review board. So that is one entity I will tell you, you can go there and learn from them, and you'll have the procurements done very well. Finally, on the skills of procurement, you know that we've had a discussion with most universities, and they for the last 5 years or 6 or more so years, they've been graduating supply chain management and procurement graduates. They've been doing that, and we are happy with that, because that is the standard that is required for a procurement professional to have the supply chain degree. And then the Kenya Institute of Supply Research Board has set qualifications on who that person should be. But they have recognized also external certification, especially from CIPA, the Chartered Institute of Procurement Supply from UK, and some others from US. Those professional qualifications. After discussion with the Kenya National Qualification Authority, KQA, whereby they've been able to give an equivalence of those documents, of those qualifications with the Kenya system. So, for more information, if you want to know who is supposed to be a skilled procurement professional, you can get in touch with KISM and get in touch with the Kenya Institute of Supply Research Board. All of them are at KISM Towers in Concord, where PPRA is. Between Prestige Plaza and Adams Arcade. You'll find KISM Towers, and you'll get information from there. And they'll be able to guide you on the qualifications